Until a month ago, I never did write a single line of code. Since then, I built a game, a browser plugin, a app, an entire app. Is that crazy? For you as a product manager, it changes the game totally. You have a data analyst available for you 24/7, right? You can prototype things really, really fast. You can analyze huge amounts of data and synthesize, customer profiles and stuff like that, right? And for me, it all started with one conversation. The one conversation I'm gonna show you right now. Enjoy. Welcome, everybody. I'm super excited to have Mikhail with me today. We met in Timisoara at Pro Conference, right?
Yeah, exactly. Glad to be there. Thank you, Thomas, for invitation. So currently I'm a chief product officer for the largest e-commerce marketplace in Azerbaijan. And that gives me the luxury to implement those tools at scale. I'll also share some things that have worked quite well, and some things that didn't really work out that well. It will kind of give you like a better practical overview. But let's jump into the actual setup. I'll share my screen. Nice. Do you see my screen?
Yes.
Lovely.
I can see your screen.
So maybe kind of to make this more effective, I would like to kind of structure it into multiple use cases. So the first use case is, let's just figure out how to build an entire web app from scratch, from basically nothing, in a matter of, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes. That would be decent enough in terms of architecture, scalable and secure. Second thing, I'll also kind of give an overview of how to implement this at scale in your organization, right? Because there are definite use cases. In our case, the problem was the teams were spending a lot of time on like building like landing pages and all. And this could be like fully automated with AI, so there is no need to involve actual engineers. The third example, which is also quite cool, is outside of coding, and it's in relation to product discovery, how the same setup could be used to figure out with new insights and estimate the potential impact of whatever hypothesis that you might have. So,
one
yeah,
question, because
sure.
I think you are already in Claude Code,
Yeah.
right?
Well, I'm in Cursor. I haven't yet.
Cursor.
Yeah.
But it's connected to Cloud Code because I would assume that many people don't have like the basic setup yet. So what
Yeah.
do you need as a prerequisite?
So as a prerequisite, you basically need to, open your terminal.
Yeah.
And install Claude Code. And for the installation, there is a simple command that you can use from Claude Code's website. I think it's just a one-liner of code, to be honest. Let me see what it is. Brew install. I think that should do the trick. Yeah. That's doing the trick. I already have it pre-installed, so I'm going just like for demonstrational purposes.
Yeah. So it downloads now the files and installs it, and then you need to connect it with your account, I guess.
Yeah, it's also quite simple. It will kind of interact with the web. So once you install it, it will ask you to log in. You'll do it from the web. It will ask you to input a separate. It will ask you to choose a separate tier, right? And you can also do it from the web and pay and all. So, so kind of the most difficult part is done, and the way you launch Claude is like with a simple command, like this. And yeah, proceed. That's it. You're in Claude Code. But the only limitation with this is that it works in terminal, and you don't have the luxury of a full IDE, which would just it makes it more complex for you to interact with the files because you'll need some kind of an editor on the
Mm.
side. Of course, like you can also feed folders into it, and that's the beauty of Claude Code because it's kind of spans out multiple agents. But I think the best convenience that you can get is if you combine like the cursor IDE, which is kind of
Mm.
on the background here, with the Claude,
Mm.
and they work quite nicely together. So what I did, I just created a separate folder, and then you just press this tab. This tab opens a terminal, and then you can launch Claude Code right inside your cursor, which is kind of a like next layer of depth, right? And so on your left, I prepared just for demonstrational purposes, like some specifications here. So I'll quickly guide you through it. So the first one is specification MD. So this is the project that we want to build from scratch, and this is just like a basic Trello style clone. And outside of the actual functionality, like boards, list, cards, and more granular details, we also have design requirements here, which is like UI, visual themes, like how the motion should look like, interactivity, the toggles, and all. So like the basic stuff. And the beauty of Claude Code is that it will use all of those specifications as a context for any query you do to it, and your project will stay consistent. So the model will not hallucinate like random stuff from scratch. That's one angle. Another angle is that you need to also load skills into Claude Code. And skills, I mean, it's a big word. In essence, it is just a text file. uh, so yeah, here I've already preloaded multiple text files with specific job requirements. So for instance, we have an architect, right? And an architect is like a full stack senior engineer that knows a good deal about backend architecture, database, front-end integration, system design, and all. And the thing is, every single query to Claude will kind of require Claude to adhere to those limitations that you've outlined here for each of the roles. Then the backend engineer, same thing, right? And front.
How did you create these specifications?
That
Is that
that's the fun part. I didn't.
yeah?
So and you don't have to. Actually, there are like repositories online.
Mm.
Let me
Ah, okay.
find one so I can show it to you.
Yeah.
I think it's called subagents.cc.
Okay.
Let me see if it works. Yep, you just Google it and you have
Perfect.
here. Claude Code agents. I have like some security issues with the firewall, but
Okay, no
it's,
problem.
I mean, you can find them online. It's very simple.
Yeah.
These are basically text files that are like grouped by different categories.
Perfect. So we hired now an architect, we hired a backend engineer, a
Yes,
designer, and a
yes,
front-end engineer.
yes, for a
Yeah.
fraction of the cost of a real specialist.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, we have all of this loaded. We have the specification. So basically what we need to do, we need to break it down, break this large ambiguous project into smaller chunks.
Mm.
And I think this is what we're gonna do. So just talk to Claude directly, rely on the spec ID, and using the specific requirements from architect ID, break down the project into the granular tasks. Yep. And you can be as vague as you'd like. What I personally found is that Claude Code is quite smart, way smarter than the majority of coding models out there. So it will understand you from basically half of a word.
Mm. And these files you have here, spec MD and front-end engineers, did you store them somewhere on the hard disk or did you load it into Cursor? I'm not familiar
No.
with.
Just like a folder on your hard disk. That's it.
I see. Yeah.
I think you can go like I mean, of course, like more advanced, you can create a GitHub repository and commit there if you'd like
Yeah.
to. But I mean, it depends. If you're doing this as a solo vibe coder, I think this is a sufficient setup.
Yeah, I think, like the more complicated it gets, the harder it is to start, right? Like for me, I'm not a software engineer. I don't know your background. Mine looks like you're a software engineer.
No, I'm not. I mean, I'm a software tinkerer, I think, rather than
Yeah.
engineer. So I'm coming from an economics background, but that's the beauty. So
Yeah.
essentially, the barriers to coding are so low that you don't really need to understand any of those concepts.
Hmm.
I think you'll see the reason why.
Hmm.
Is that like what is currently happening is that two things. So one is Claude code breaks, like spins multiple agents, and each agent is working on specific subtasks. Subtask, you don't even see it because it all happens in the background. And the second thing is that uh, uh, the second thing that is quite important is that it sets up your own environment. Because one of the biggest issues with coding is that you had to create an environment, you had to create a container like a Docker or whatever, you had to load up dependencies, libraries into it, and they were conflicting all the time. To be honest, I always found it to be a pain in the ass. Uh, and it was like a huge barrier for any project that I needed to develop. But here you don't really have to think about it. So I'm basically sitting here drinking coffee and chatting with you while Claude Code is doing all the heavy lifting. So you can see that it says like set up project foundation and infrastructure.
Ah, okay. Crazy.
Yeah, and I know. And the thing is, right? So when you have this one-sided kind of a chat GPT type of an interface interaction, you're not getting the luxury of this because what Claude Code does, it interacts with your entire project, with every single file and folder, and it selects certain chunks of those files that are relevant to your query.
Mm.
It's like it's similar to using this augmented retrieval, like a RAG,
Mm.
in a way.
Interesting. Where did you come up with the spec MD? Is that like something, like you just thought, okay, let's recreate a Trello and write it down, or that from GPT, or
It
where did
comes
you
from
come from?
GPT.
Okay,
I
perfect.
just asked GPT to write me a spec and
Yeah.
aim
Yeah.
for as much feature parity as possible.
Yeah, yeah. It's really funny how you use one AI to feed the other one. We did it like with
Oh,
the intro video of the just product, right? We
yeah,
always
yeah,
like GPT, okay, I want to create a video of video, please make this and that, right?
yeah, 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 yeah. So it's kind of a meta. So one AI feeds to another AI,
Yeah.
and it's still the work is still ongoing because it's a heavy lifting project, but it's okay. It's like you can
Mm.
just go and do whatever you want. Meanwhile,
Yeah. And did you ever, I mean, meanwhile we wait, did you test other web coding, tools like
yeah,
Lovable or something like that in comparison to
yeah.
that setup?
So I did, and I would kind of group them into like buckets, right? So I started vibe coding even before it was called vibe coding, when like first like ChatGPT o1 model appeared because it was. Wait a second, I think it PM mock interview. Okay, Spectre. Let me see. It might have taken like an incorrect specification.
Okay.
Yeah, it was the other project that I was working on. What the hell? I hope you'll cut it out.
Well, like actually, I think this is just what happens in reality to
Yeah,
many people starting.
yeah, yeah,
It's just interesting what you do
yeah.
now, right?
Yeah. I'll be more specific.
Yeah.
It's project. It's the Trello clone project. Be very specific about it.
Okay. Interesting.
You're absolutely right. I apologize for the confusion. Let me read the correct spec for Trello clone project.
Okay, let's see. Because I think this is, something which happens to each and everybody, right? That,
Yeah, yeah,
the stuff is not working the first time.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But
So
yeah, I'm sorry.
you've been like with comparison, Lovable and the setup, and you just shared that you started with GPT-1. I think that's where we lost your story.
Yeah, just a second. I think what actually happened is that I didn't save the spec,
Mm.
and it referred to a different spec in a different folder. So it was looking across my entire basically project repository, which is
Okay.
also like a pretty cool feature, is that it just steps outside of the boundaries that you set for the project. But you also have to be careful when you like do this at scale because it might interact with the files that you don't actually want it to interact with.
Yeah. So Cloud Code basically has access to your hard drive, right?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah. Um,
How do you limit, like if you say like, okay, it sometimes goes just, out and takes something else. How do you limit the data access or, like
mhm.
the things you want Code to consider?
I think you can do this in a specification as well, right? So you need to be like very
Okay.
specific about what files or folders Claude Code can interact with, and
Mm.
you just basically limit it to it, and that's it.
Okay. And that's it.
Going
Okay.
back to your previous question about
Mm.
different vibe coding tools. So back when like ChatGPT o1 was released, I played around with it quite a bit, and I
Mm.
think it was decent for
Mm.
prototyping and the early stage MVPs and all
Mm.
of that. It actually returned workable prototypes, and you could actually debug them, make iterations, but you didn't have the luxury of working in this like engineering environment, right? Where you could feed an entire folder into it because like the context was so small that you couldn't really, you had to like kind of break it down into multiple pieces and work with each piece separately. It was very confusing. And it was like after a certain amount of queries, it just refactored the entire project, which made it like very cumbersome. Uh, but then I think there was a wave of this vibe coding tools like Replit, Bolt.dev, Lovable, Base 44,
Mm.
Orchid, so and a range of others. I think that they're quite promising for like very, very early stage users.
Mm.
What I don't like about them is that I do think that they output very generic landing pages or prototypes, very generic ones. And if you want to make them, um, if you want to custom tailor them, you will just run out of credits. Just cost quality ratio wise, I think it's just not worth it for a project like we're doing right now.
Mm.
Claude would be like a much better alternative here. And the thing is, like, this whole setup might look intimidating, but it's not complex. Like you've seen, I'm literally speaking natural language with it.
Mm. Why do you run it within Cursor and not just use the terminal to, do stuff with Cloud Code?
Yeah, it's a good question because it's easy to switch context, right? So you have Claude Code running here, and if Claude Code does some changes in the files, you can immediately access the file.
Mm.
I just
Okay.
like kind of the convenience it creates. You could also use agents here, like so Cursor has its own agents. You could choose an LLM, whichever you like. But personally, I think that Claude Code beats them in terms of the quality of coding.
Okay.
Yep. So Vibe Trello board breakdown is ongoing. Yep.
So how do you do it in your company? Do you suggest the engineers work like that or the project managers, or
Yeah.
has everybody everybody the freedom to test out their own tools, or how do you do that?
Yeah. So it's also a great question. So what I'm doing right now is that I'm pushing all the product managers that somehow work with those early stage projects to do the prototypes and build like easy stuff themselves. They all have like GitHub accounts.
Yeah.
And they do commits.
Okay.
However, what is important is that you just cannot come up with some random stuff, right? You need to be you need to follow certain guardrails. So for instance, even if you're creating a landing page, it has to like work in a certain environment that your organization has if you want to load it in a subdomain. So our engineering managers have prepared a set of guardrails, which product managers just simply use as specifications here. That's it.
Okay. And
And
then just make one or two examples how your product managers like what they do. Like, landing page sounds more like marketing department, right? Like what
yeah,
do product managers do? Do they really do functional changes on your website, or like what's the scope of things the product managers are doing?
yeah. So for instance, it's not well. Currently, I'm a bit cautious about kind of putting this Claude code infra to action on our big legacy architecture in the existing e-commerce because it might end up with unexpected consequences.
Yeah.
When it comes to completely standalone projects, and you're
Mhm.
right, like
Got it.
a large chunk of them are in the marketing and growth department,
Mhm.
like
Yeah,
any kind of a marketing landing pages or whatever.
got it.
Doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense to use any like resource to build them. But apart from this, there are some like local projects in product teams. For instance, we have a supply chain department, and they have their own app for couriers, right? It's a standalone app, and you don't really need to have like super complex integration there. Uh,
Mhm.
you can like build it yourself, or you can make tweaks yourself. So I'm pushing product managers to be very hands-on with this.
Great.
So yeah, you can see that the project was broken down into very like granular pieces. So there is even like database architecture there, APIs and all. So let's just build it, right? Take the task break and start it. Strictly adhere to the roles defined in the files back engineer.md from and designer.md. Do not lose focus on the spec. Yeah, something like that.
Interesting. So if I have here now a front-end engineer, yeah,
Yeah,
could I
yeah,
just put in the specification, hey, use this design library or something like that, that it's really like on point with the, branding and everything?
yeah, exactly. So you can like limit it to certain brand books,
Hmm.
design systems, color codes, or any other specifications that you actually want. And that's why this context engineering thing makes it so like useful, far beyond just the basic prototypes.
Hmm. And we can tell the architect, I don't know, make a microservice architecture with whatever security and whatsoever, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Love it.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, if you think about this, you can launch a new MVP every day. You'll just have to extend your paid tier, and that's it.
Yeah. Mm, do you have something in production, a project or something like that? Because like people always worry about like having something like that in production and maintenance.
Mhm.
So. Any experience there? How that works for you?
So yeah, I actually had one project almost a year ago, which was built completely on this ChatGPT o1, not in the classic vibe coding sense that we're using, not in the Claude code sense. I mean, it was okay, but the scale of the project was relatively small. It was like generative AI imagery. So nothing like over the top. I didn't experience like any massive downtime, uptime, or like fraud attacks or whatever. Um, I'm also curious to know like what would be like how it would look like on bigger scale. And the one project I'm currently planning to push to production, maybe like next week, it will be closely related to the Substack, to my Substack account that I'm currently using. So it would be about mock-up interviews, like how can you do mock-up interviews for product managers based on real data, real evaluation criteria, like so you could practice. Like building
Interesting.
stuff like that here, like using Claude Code is like it's exactly what it's meant for.
So you would take existing interviews, videos, transcribe them, put them in here, and then basically give it the task to respond, or how would you set up something like that?
So I'll do it slightly differently. So since I have like a large knowledge base of how interviews are done, what the expectation criteria are, so I'll be creating a library of different types and specific interviews for different companies because assessment criteria they vary wildly. And then you could basically practice with a real-time tutor, like using your own voice and get feedback immediately after it, after the interview. Yeah, I'll send you a link and with the access and all after
Yeah,
once it's ready. So yeah,
yeah.
so you can see something is definitely cooking.
Yes, working.
Let me update to-do list, and you can see like all of the kind of file structures here.
Mm.
It interacts with it dynamically. There are multiple agents working under the hood. They're making their own decisions. So you don't really have to guide them or provide any like excessive inputs.
Mm.
Just a second. Setting up project structure.
And you said like the quality is better with Claude Code than the other tools. It also feels like it's working a little bit longer on the project, right?
Yeah, because it's a large. We're basically building an entire Trello from
Mm.
scratch. Something
Mm.
that the team might have spent, I don't know, like half a year when they released their first Trello.
Mm.
So yeah, it's a large project. I think like with smaller ones or with just basic prototypes, I think we can do it much faster, of course.
Yeah.
And the quality is well, I'm relying on two criteria here. So one is objective criteria, and from everything I read about evals on code quality, Claude Code, I think beats other models quite substantially in terms of performance. But subjectively, when you play around with coding, and if you take any pet project and you try to bring it to fruition and you experiment with different models, the level of frustration that you experience with code is probably the lowest out of all the models out there.
Mm. And is that based on experience, or is that based on reading stuff, or
It's based on my personal experience
okay?
playing
Mm.
around with different projects.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's eating tokens. I actually like the interface here, like tells you what exactly it's doing. explains you why it is doing this, and you can clearly see that it takes just chunks of the code. It doesn't refactor the entire project.
Mhm. Have you used this to leverage your own data? Like, for example, I don't know, um, use your own database from the service department to analyze, the structure, the calls and stuff like that. Like, have you ever used, your existing database and connected with Cloud Code to analyze or do anything with it?
I actually did, and I found out it was extremely efficient at this, especially when you're dealing with large data sets.
Hmm?
So we took our entire A/B test data set,
Hmm?
we loaded it into Claude Code, and we did, and also like with additional user journey data from dashboards, and we back tested it against the actual A/B test data to see whether like it gives correct predictions.
1 second, didn't get it. You have
Yeah,
an A/B test.
so you take historical data, right, from your past A/B tests. You
Mm,
basically put them all in a folder here,
mm,
and then
mm,
you layer all the user data that you have at your disposal, right? Like
mm,
funnel flows, I don't
mm.
know, just like CLV behavioral profiles or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And then you can try to do historical predictions, right? So and compare it against your actual data. I think that shows kind of the accuracy of estimations that Claude is doing. And what we've seen was that the swing was between like 20%. So for product purposes, I think it's quite decent. And that's one thing. And if you put this into practice and think about actual applications, so um, for instance, I have a large unstructured data set. If you load this data set into ChatGPT, it will simply just like throw up because there's just too much data. If you load it in other models, maybe like Gemini could work because it has like a super large 1 million token context. But it didn't quite work quite well for me. But if you load this data into like Claude Code, it will digest and process the data in like maybe a few minutes, and then it can build conclusions. Like one example that I did basically just yesterday, I took different customer journey maps, and there were 60,000 of different combinations. And it grouped all of those combinations into kind of engagement. So how many clicks a certain user did. And when I looked at the buckets, I was quite surprised that our web was the lowest in terms of engagement. So 40% of the users have actually dropped off based on the amount of clicks and the versatility of different customer journeys. All right. With all that said, I think we have something brewed here. Let's ask it. Spin out a local host instance so we can click and play around with it.
Now, time to see what happens.
Yeah, I love how responsive it is. Like, let me spin out the local host, of course. Okay. I mean, if you think about this, just like the whole development server setup, maybe like 10 years ago, it was such a pain. Now, like literally, I'm not doing anything.
Crazy.
Okay.
And any experience, because like I was chatting with Sebastian a lot, and he said like, anything which is quite, oh, That's first.
It's still work in progress, so no worries. Still ongoing. Yes, and
Basically, he said like whenever you have something, you know, newish, yeah, Lovable and all these tools and maybe Claude Code are also not so good. So if you have, you know, like common patterns,
Mhm.
because it was trained on a historical data, right? So,
Yeah.
you know, architecture wise, or if you want to come up with something new or newish or unique, right? Do you have any experience in that sense?
Yeah, I actually have. So newness comes in different shape and forms, right? And most likely, when we're talking about new, we're talking about either libraries that don't exist. So there is
Mm,
no ready-made solution for this, which you can just plug and play.
mm,
And or we're talking about a very complex engineering challenge.
mhm,
And in both cases, what I've noticed was that the models they just got stuck in this loop of death. What this essentially means is that they're overpromising to you. What
mm.
they're saying is that, hey, yeah, of course we can deliver, and they just like feed you the prototypes that are not working.
Yeah. The
And this, yeah,
self-driving car, no problem, we can do it.
yeah. I think there was a research about this, which basically said that models they try to be excessively helpful to the
Mm,
extent where they don't see their flaws. So they can't really tell you, well, hey, I actually have no knowledge about this and I have no idea how to build this.
mm,
Instead, they try to kind of uh,
mm.
mimic this. So yeah, it might not work out. However, if you break this down into very granular, specific tasks, but you need to have an engineering mindset for this, right? It might actually do the trick.
Yeah, interesting. You know, like where I saw this behavior before.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was living in China,
Mm.
and you know, like they cannot say no, or you know, like that they cannot say I don't know or I can tell you or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And that leads to really awkward things because you know, like you just approach somebody and say, "Hey, what's your name?" And if they don't understand, they just say yes, yes.
Exactly.
Or I
Yeah.
was, you know, like walking the street and I didn't know where to go anywhere, right? So I had a map in my hand.
Yeah.
I showed it to the person, said like, okay, I want to go XYZ, right? Did she looked at the map and oh, yeah. And then she said like, okay, down the road, here left. And then, you know, like she left and I was like, okay, but you know, like the map was upside down. There was no way she could understand, you know, like where I want to go. Whoa, Trello vibes.
Yeah, this is what we have built. Coming soon, Serenity, Mono, Sundown. You can actually play around and just look at the design itself, right? Of course, like we set up the specifications for it.
Yeah.
However, like the alignment, the colors, like the typography just looks so nice. Um, I think we need to kind of make a step forward and add at least some functionality here because like we
Yeah.
have all the foundations there.
Yeah. So was the instruction in the spec MD that there should be already a board, or was it just for the landing page? I think you wanted to have a full Trello functionality, isn't it?
Yeah. So the thing is, right? So considering the time constraints, I
Yeah.
kind of pushed a little bit further, right,
Mm,
to deliver at least something visual, right?
okay.
And, because of how I prompted Claude, it was
Mm,
biased into delivering the visuals and sacrificing kind of the functionality substance. So
yeah.
we actually have the entire task breakdown, but if you want to build it fully, probably you'll need to spend, well, a few hours, right? Or maybe like a few days if you want to polish it, doing like going step by step.
But how do you know which chunks the AI already created and which one you need still to create?
Yeah, great question. But you just play around with the prototype. If you open the prototype, it will become pretty obvious, like what works, what doesn't.
Yeah.
Right now, we can't access the boards. Can just change the colors. And once the boards are accessible, you can clearly see like what's working, what's not. Yeah, and just ask it to make changes as you go.
Yeah.
And you can be a very demanding stakeholder.
Yeah. To which degree are you demanding from a AI?
Oh yeah, like to the fullest. I'm a horrible stakeholder.
But you need to take care. Like here's a slight warning because at some point AI will be smarter than us and they rule the world. And if you behaved, if you behave badly, it will remember actually. Yeah.
No, I'll just contain it in my folder using the specification.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's maybe see what it comes up with. But like going back to one of the topics that you raised before, you can put whatever you want here, like not necessarily the specifications or like the coding files. You can put data. You can like interact with the data in whichever way or shape you want. You can put RFDs, right? So you can ask Claude to kind of challenge the logic, the thinking, the depth of your existing RFDs. Also using different roles if you want to. So like you can play with it like however you like. So it's not necessarily for coding, but I think coding is just the best use case for it.
This coding is quite structured, right? I think
Yeah.
this is one of the easier things for the AI to do.
It's easier in terms of like probabilities, right? So it's easier to expect like a certain function be followed by another function within a predefined syntax rather than like natural language, which can be very like random. Okay, so what's going on here? How far are we? Building API routes for card operations. I think we're pretty deep.
Creating board page component with a theme support.
Let's see what's happening in the local.
Did you ever do like like for prototyping, often you want something, on your website test it, right? So
Yeah.
what if I have a button here? What if da 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 da?
Yeah.
Play around with, taking screenshots of your website and then just adding functionality to the website or, like integrating into like I don't know, into your existing website somehow.
So yeah, you can take screenshots or you can like download just basic styles, HTMLs, if it's of course if it's possible, if your website isn't like overly dynamic, and then you can ask Claude to recreate it, add the buttons, or like change like certain like UI components if you'd like to spin it out on a local host, like super easy task.
Page component.
I'm hopeful we'll see something by the time our session ends. So
Yeah.
phase one complete. Yeah, you can also see like the project file here, basically what has been done.
That's like phase one complete and okay, I see.
That's phase two. So probably you'll need some database integrations as well, like Superbase, maybe like Gmail integrations if you want to add like a login layer on top of this.
Does it ask for these things or how do you know if that you need now a database or something like that?
Yeah, it can ask you. Like if you don't specify, it will give you a suggestion. what to use, but I typically specify because there are simple tools that you can use. Like for database, you can use Supabase, and I think that's the basic integration that Lovable has as well. For like logging, you can also use Supabase because it allows you to use Gmail, store it in their database. Like literally, you can set this up without any technical knowledge.
Need to start a project on the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can already push it to production on Monday and start earning money by Wednesday.
And being rich on Friday.
It depends on what you sell there, but yeah, why not? And depends on your definition of being rich as well.
Yeah, that's true. You know the video on Instagram. Hey, ChatGPT, I want to have an idea to be rich. Deep thinking, deep thinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Take your time, no problem. Yeah. Little work, no work. Whatever. All right, let's see. Ah, no, it's still.
Yeah, it's still
Yeah,
building something, but we already have the demo board, um, loading
I
board.
see.
So yeah, pretty. I
Interesting.
mean,
Wow,
not
crazy.
perfect, but it's pretty nice. I don't know, like review my backlog priorities for the week.
Okay, crazy.
And I think you can shuffle it as well.
Drag and drop. No, it doesn't work.
Drop
Yeah,
doesn't work yet, but you can add it like quite simply.
yeah.
Uh,
Can you
also,
go into the card already?
let's see.
Ah, yeah.
No, not yet. You can just like
Edit the. Okay.
edit it. But I mean, you can layer in just a single prompt. You can add whatever functionality on top of it that
Yeah,
you like.
yeah.
So yeah, let's see what's happening in Claude Code. Yeah, all the pages are working. Responsive design. Demo board is there. Yeah. And I think that when we're talking about the new age of subscription as a service tools,
Yeah,
you can build your own like web apps from scratch, like
yeah,
literally. Uh,
yeah.
if you think about like how it was 10 years ago, this would probably take me a group of engineers, like 3, 4 engineers, to actually build it, and this will take me a few months for sure.
Yeah. This is actually it's quite insane, quite crazy. So
Yeah.
let's go just one more time back. Let's assume we want now, the tasks to be to be open or something like that. Or how would you, go on if you really want to build that project, right?
Yeah.
Would you now go into the phases and see, okay, let's take the second, the third, the fourth phase, or would you just go function by function and prompt Claude Code to, like build now a
Yeah.
second level, like that we can click in, or, like how would you proceed now?
So because I love tinkering with stuff, I would probably go like very functional.
Mm,
So I'll ask like add like an ability to drag and drop, like
mm,
add ability to open cards, because like you can play around with it however way you like, right? So
mm,
the project
mm,
management doesn't matter anymore, and
mm.
that's what I would probably do. And then, like once I've exhausted the functionality here, I would probably move on, and I would add the layers of what I was missing here. Let's say I would like to have multiple projects.
Yeah,
I would like to have kind of an authorization functionality. I would maybe like to sync it with, I don't know, something else like Google Docs or whatever. Yeah, and probably that would be my approach until you feel that your masterpiece is ready to be put to production. And if you're questioning how to put it to production, you can ask Claude to build you a specification. Build me a noob manual how to push this project to production and deploy it to my domain. that's pretty much it. Yeah, Thomas. Unfortunately, I'll have to jump off. I have a meeting in 1 minute. But
Thank
let
you
me know
very
if
much
there
for
is.
thank you very much for sharing this. This was really exciting. I think, like especially if you've never done it before in Claude Code and having this setup, I think it's super, super interesting. Yeah, so I'm gonna play around with it on the weekend and try my first project and ship it by Monday, so you can do
That's the
something
goal.
with it.
That's the spirit. That's the spirit.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think you can definitely do it. And I mean, especially at such a small scale, you don't really have to think a lot about security and all that stuff.
yeah. Thank you for sharing.
All right.
Have
Thank
a,
you, Thomas. As always,
was a pleasure.
was a pleasure as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So
Have a
have a
good
great
weekend.
weekend.
Bye bye.
Bye.
See you.